Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So I recently found this great YouTube channel called Old Time TV that uploads these old videos and short films and like PSAs and stuff like that from the 40s, 50s, 60s, sometimes 70s. Mostly kind of like instructional content, teaching you how to live your life, what kind of person to be, all that sort of thing. And I thought it would be really fun to take a look at this channel and a few of their videos over a couple of videos here on my channel.
What's wrong with her? She's a woman, isn't she?
Very quickly before we start, today's video is sponsored by Balesa, and I have a really cool giveaway with them to tell you about, so if you stick around, you will hear about that in just a couple of minutes. So the Old Time TV videos are definitely a mixed bunch. We have titles such as the 1939 instructional video, Learning How to Swim. Pretty normal, right? Then we get 1978's I Like Bikes. And let's not forget the 1962 classic, Fetal Pig Anatomy. Like I say, a mixed bunch. Yes, some of these videos are quite bizarre, but some of them are actually really revealing, and they provide a really interesting insight into what white middle-class America used to be like. For example, you have videos such as Dating, Do's and Don'ts from 1949, How Do You Know It's Love from 1950, and When Should I Marry from 1957. Today we're going to be looking back at a few of these videos, we're going to judge them with a 2023 mindset and have a little giggle together. We're going to start with a video from the 1950s called Are You Ready for Marriage? But quickly before we start, here's a little word from today's sponsor, and trust me, you are going to love this one. I am very excited to share with you all that today's video is sponsored by the wonderful Balesa. I've been on a big push with so much of my content recently to encourage people to not only brush up on their sex education, but also just to embrace and feel confident in their own sexuality, which is why when Balesa reached out to me to offer a giveaway to you guys, I jumped at the chance to work with them. Balesa are a bi-woman company for all things sexuality, and just like my content, their goal is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and celebrate their sexuality. Balesa amazingly sent me this adorable little guy to check out, and oh, he is great. This is their Air Vibe. It comes in the most adorable but discreet casing. How ridiculously cute is this? It is rechargeable, which in my experience is the best because you never have to worry about changing batteries or losing or diminishing power partway through using it. And the best part about the Air Vibe is, without a doubt, its versatility. It bends, it moves, it's flexible, and you have two different power settings. This guy here provides suction, which you can use on your clitoris, whereas this end here is a vibrating end, which you can use absolutely anywhere, internally, externally, on your partner. You can even use both at the same time. It is not only adorable, but it's small, it's discreet, it's quiet, which is great if you have housemates. And because it offers different levels of power of vibration and suction, it is absolutely perfect for anyone who is a beginner to using toys, who wants to try something out for the first time, or if you're a little more experienced and want to add to your collection, there's something here for you too. It is perfect for everyone. The best part is though, if you check out my link, which is on screen right now, and it's also going to be available in the video description and as a pinned comment, all the places, Balesa are currently doing this huge giveaway where everyone gets something, and it's really good. So you sign up to it and you either get a free vibrator or a gift card that you can put towards a vibrator or pretty much anything you want on their website, which I think is pretty damn good. You guys deserve a little treat, you know? Treat yourself. Seriously, I love their products, I love their message, I love everything they do. So if you would like to check them out for yourself, please go follow my link, sign up for the giveaway, get yourself a little treat, and let me know what you think. Once again, a huge thank you to Balesa for sponsoring this video today. Support from companies like them really help me keep creating content for you guys that is educational and empowering and hopefully makes you feel really good about yourselves. Thank you so much to Balesa. Go give the Air Vibe a try. Thoroughly recommend it. And for now, let's jump back into the rest of my video. So, are you ready for marriage? I know I'm not, but let's see what the video has to say. So this video opens with a scene of a couple making out in silence, why not, which goes on for far too long. But it turns out this is all because this guy has just asked his girl to marry him. Good job.
So I asked her last night at a graduation prom, and she said yes. We're going to be married in August.
Wow, married? But she's just finishing high school, and you still have 2 years at the university.
Or, as we would say today, she's still a teenage girl in school and you're a grown adult man. Please step away from the child.
That's a tough road, Larry. What are you going to use for money?
Well, Sue's folks were going to pay something to put her in junior college here in town for 2 years. So we'll have that. But instead of going to college, she'll get a full-time job in campus town. Say she doesn't care anymore about education. So with that and my part-time job, we'll get by.
Oh, sweetie, no, screw that. No, you go get your education. I can tell you now, no partner, no matter how great they are, is ever worth giving up your education, your work, your interests, whatever you're passionate about. No partner is worth giving up on that for. Being in a relationship shouldn't mean you ever give up your independence or ability to do anything, you know?
Oh, Larry,
Well, what's the matter?
it's the folks. We had a terrible scene. I couldn't sleep a wink. They don't approve. They say I'm too young. They want me to finish 2 more years of schooling before I even get engaged. Oh, Larry.
Yeah, listen to them, please.
Buck up, sweetheart. They can't stop me. Relax. And act normal till after your graduation next week. Then I can borrow Phil's car. Down to Greenville. There's a justice of the peace down there. We'll elope, honey.
But, Larry, I wanted a church wedding. And all the parties and showers for me, too. And my folks, that would break Mom's heart.
Well, we're the ones that are getting married, not your folks.
Yeah, is anyone else getting red flags from this guy straight away? What's the rush, mate? Why are you encouraging her to, like, be isolated from her parents? Why aren't you actually bothering to ask her what she wants or listening to her in terms of what she wants? Why is it always what you want on your schedule?
I read somewhere that a marriage without parents' approval has 2 strikes on it from the start. But if eloping's the only way...
No, maybe it isn't. Maybe you could convince your folks that you should get married.
But how, Larry? How?
Just gonna throw this out there, but if this video was made today, I would say, if you're still young enough that you need your parents' permission to leave the house, never mind get married, and you're planning your wedding date around your school schedule, then you're probably too young to be getting married in the first place. Just saying, just saying.
I'll bet we could get some advice from the marriage counselor over at the church. His name is Hall.
My folks don't understand the way I feel. So that's the story, Mr. Hall.
Now, let's see. You've known each other for...
3 months, 1 week, 2 days, and 17 hours.
Oh, stop it. 3 months. I don't doubt this worked out for some people, but we also know that for a huge, huge number of people, it absolutely did not.
Have either of you ever been in love before?
Well, but not like this. This is the real thing.
Yes.
I had a chum in college who had the real thing with 8 successive girls.
8 successive girls, you say? What is this filth doing in my wholesome Christian film? But seriously, kids, we call this serial monogamy, and it's a pretty good sign that a person can't be alone and that they care more about being with someone, anyone, than specifically you. If you are a serial monogamist, please take some time out of the dating world to just be alone, be by yourself, enjoy yourself, figure out who you are. It's actually a really, really great thing.
But tell me, how do you know it's real love? The kind you can get married on?
Why, ever since I first met Larry, I haven't wanted to date anyone else. The whole 3 months now.
Oh, well, enough said, really. You go for it, kids. 3 months, 60 years, all the same, really, isn't it? What can really change in that time?
And besides, I haven't even had 1 quarrel with him.
No quarrels? Why not? No differences of opinion? Or no opinions? What do you talk about on your dates?
Oh, movies and popular songs.
Orchestras. Dancing.
Okay, look, I've had people rip into me before on my videos because I've said that I don't think it's a good sign to be regularly arguing with your partner, and I've had people give me like essay-long lectures in the comments about how not arguing at all in a relationship is a red flag, but I disagree. I would say not disagreeing at all with your partner is a red flag because generally that means your relationship is totally surface level like the one in this video. But I think there's a huge difference between disagreeing and arguing, and I don't think arguing in relationships, especially not regularly, is normal or should be normal, and I don't think arguing is healthy. Disagreements are, conflict resolution is, but not arguments. But in my mind, conflict is normal. Disagreements are normal. They happen from time to time with absolutely anyone, whether it's a partner, a friend, family, colleagues, whatever. Even me and Kubi have a little grumble at each other sometimes when she's like, "Mother, give me more cheese," and I'm like, "No, the vet says you're overweight," and she's like, "Mother," and I'm like, "Okay, then have the cheese." So conflict, disagreements, those sorts of things, they can be normal. That's fine. Everyone deals with it. But I don't think arguments should be normal. To me, arguments imply anger towards each other. Arguments imply fighting against each other instead of healthy conflict resolution, which is about sharing your feelings with each other, listening to each other, understanding each other, and resolving an issue together, you know? Conflict or disagreements can be about fighting together against a problem, whereas an argument is about fighting each other, and I think that's what's unhealthy. So, in summary, yeah, I think the fact that these two people in this video have a shallow relationship is a red flag in this case, but in general, a lack of arguments is only a good thing. You could, like I say this is all about semantics of what arguments and conflict mean, and yeah, you're probably right, but what it all comes down to is, are you fighting each other, or are you fighting together? That's what it mostly comes down to, and I think one is healthy and normal, and one is not.
Larry's chosen profession, engineering?
No, I don't understand any of it. I don't like to hear about it.
Why, Sue, honey, I didn't know you felt that way.
Oh look, she's just a silly little woman who is too dumb to understand the big bad math stuff. Just leave it to the men, honey. You don't need to know this. Am I right, kids?
We call this Cupid's checklist. First, do you have similar backgrounds, similar bases for your ideals and standards? Second, are you real friends, comrades, pals through thick and thin? And third, do you both understand marriage? Oh, not the kind in most movies or in most popular songs, but the real everyday kind of marriage, between real people. Do you understand it?
Okay, I don't actually hate this, but I would want to maybe alter the first point slightly. I think it's less about your background and what values your family have instilled in you, and more about what values you've discovered that you hold for yourself. What do you want your life to look like going forward? What do you want from your own family and that sort of thing, you know? I think this is definitely something which has changed, in my opinion, for the better since the 1950s. Now people are less defined by their past, their families, their upbringing, and more able to define themselves the way they want, based on their own experiences. And, you know, it's less about where you grew up and more about where you want to be, which I think is only a good thing, you know? Some people don't like this, some people think it's a bad thing. I'm looking at you, people that goal-defined, but I would argue it's a great thing and it's good for everyone involved.
Well, come over here a minute. Perhaps I can show you what I mean.
What's that?
I call it a marriage development board. It represents the psychological distance between a husband and a wife from the time they are born until they die.
But what does it all mean?
Well, let's set it up for you and Sue. When you are born, you inherit a great many differences from your parents. That's part of your background.
That makes sense, all right.
Now, as you grow up, you each develop separate and unique personalities. Your mental growth, your emotional outlook, your standards and ideals. Larry, your distinctly masculine outlook on life, and Sue, your feminine way of looking at things, your capacities to love and be loved. In these and many other ways, you each acquire a background. So that when you first met, you were probably farther apart. Probably more distinct individuals than when you were born.
But I don't want to marry a girl like me. I want to marry a man like him.
So even though we're close together here, we don't know how far apart we are there.
That's right. When you two met, there was probably an early physical reaction. A romantic attraction that pulled you together. A love appeal that hit you sort of boing.
Please, please, please never say boing again.
Boing, 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 boing. If you're too far apart psychologically, if your backgrounds are not similar enough, it can cause a great deal of argument and unhappiness until...
It's gone.
Where'd it go?
That's what you'll be saying about your romantic love if these other things cause a breakup.
I love how dumb these two are. Like, oh my god, where did it go? No wonder she doesn't understand engineering if she doesn't even know how an elastic band works.
Boing.
No, sir. This is forever with Larry and me.
Fine, I hope so.
Oh, but I love this guy. I love him. The vicar marriage counselor guy. He's so brutal with this. Fine, I hope so. Which actually means you two are idiots and you're going to break up, but I refuse to say it out loud. Bless him, he's brutal.
Did you two ever see these figures on length of engagement and how it relates to chances for happiness in marriage?
No.
Two separate studies showed the chance for happiness improves with a longer engagement period. It's fair for 6 months, better for a year or 2 years.
Kind of, yes, but can we talk about this graph for a second? Because there are so many problems with it. No labels on the y-axis, for example, so how do I know what these values actually mean? You say, oh look, it goes up, which means more happiness, but like, what are these values? How much is it going up by? Was it going up by 10%, 50%, 100%? What are these values? I need to know. And can we also talk about how there's a very clear drop-off at the end after what looks like around 4 years, but that 4 years is not labelled on there. So I have to ask, is this graph poorly made? Or is there a lower chance for happiness with a too long engagement that they're just not talking about and glossing over? I don't know. Point is, this is a terribly made graph which doesn't actually say anything useful.
Here's another angle that should interest you both. How age when married affects the chance for happiness. You can see that the chances are better after the man reaches 21 or so. The same study showed that the woman must be 19 or 20 before the chances for happiness begin to be good.
I'm sorry, but why are 15-year-olds getting married on this chart? Stop it. Leave the children alone, please. These graphs need to stop.
But why? What's the difference between 19 and 21 or so?
The difference is in you the next few years. You, Larry, and you, Sue. Young people seem to change and mature in these years from 18 to 21 or even later. So that a person you might marry at 18 or so will seem like quite a different person to you a few years later.
Yeah, he's actually right here, to be fair. I'm not going to complain about that.
Gee, hon. Doesn't take an engineer to see that we're on the bad part of the curve of these graphs. All of them.
Yeah. I see our chances aren't so good now.
In other words, look, babe, even a woman as dumb as you can understand this. Right, honey?
I guess you might say we're engaged to be engaged. And Mr. Hall, we both want to thank you. And say, now do you think we have anything more than boing?
Oh, stop it. Ah, no more boinging, please. Stop.
Boing?
Oh, please, no more boinging. Stop it. Okay, next video. This one is from 1959 and it's titled The Trouble with Women. You know from this title it's going to be good, right? So this opens with another silly little woman who is unable to understand how to use a big, complicated machine like an oscilloscope. Women can't do that, can they? They cannot do that. But luckily, a man is there to put her right.
No, Betty, that's wrong. Let me show you again. You use this control get your focus, you see? All right, and this one here in the right-hand corner to lock the suite. There we are. Now let's try it again.
Oh, there's someone here to see you. Are you Mr. Bradshaw, the foreman?
Yes.
Mr. Donnelly up in personnel said for me to give you this card. I'm your new bearings inspector.
Oh? Oh, well, now, I'll be with you in just a minute. No, one at a time. Well, I'll be back later to go over this with you, Betty. Just in the meantime, do the best you can. Would you follow me, please?
Thank God. What would a silly little woman do without the smarty smart men to help us? Turns out that this guy is just a full-on misogynist, which is always fun. Who saw that coming?
Well, Mr. Bradshaw, what's on your mind?
Bearings, Inspector.
She's a good one, too. Just look at that record.
Okay, now, Walt, you've had your little joke. Give her to somebody else. I ask for a man.
We don't have a man with her qualifications. Seriously, Brad, if you treat her right, she might make you a darn good employee.
What do you mean, treat her right?
Get that chip off your shoulder. What's wrong with her?
She's a woman, isn't she? I work with them, mister. I know what happens.
What does happen?
Well, it's a long story.
Come on now, tell me. What does happen? Maybe I've been misinformed.
Not so long ago, you sent me a girl by the name of Myrtle Malloy.
Oh my God, not Myrtle Malloy. Well, now I'm on his side. Damn women, damn them all.
As per her qualifications, I assigned her to an inspection bench. Well, in a matter of days, that bench looked more like her dressing table. And then came the day when... Joe, will you take your stuff back to table 9? That'll be your bench for the time being.
Okay, Chief.
Myrtle, we're moving you to table number 10.
Is something wrong, Mr. Bradshaw?
No, nothing's wrong. We just need this space for something else.
Well, I sure hate to give it up. It's been a nice place to work. The light's good here, and it's nicely situated right in the middle of things. I just begun to feel at home.
Well, I'm sorry, Myrtle, but table 10 will have to be your work area for the time being.
You mean there's liable to be another change?
There's always that possibility.
Well, I certainly hope I'm not moved every other day.
With man, no trouble at all. Tell him what you want and he does it. But with Myrtle, a little move is a big production.
So his issue is actually with his employees wanting to be comfortable and them understanding how they work most efficiently for themselves. He has an issue with that. This has nothing to do with gender and everything to do with this guy wanting mindless drones and not free-thinking individuals as his employees. Yeah. I get that as a boss you want your employees to listen to you, but also as a boss, listen to your employees, right? Like, this woman, she made a good point. She doesn't want to move because the light is good here, which is good for her work. She doesn't want to be wasting her time moving all her stuff around if it's unnecessary. These are all really good points. She knows her job, she knows her role, she knows the kind of environment she needs to work in. Why are you just dismissing her because she's a woman? At this point, I was hoping this video was setting this guy up to be the bad guy and everything would be about, like, proving him wrong. But I was also aware that, like, if I just stopped the video here, I know all the little, like, Andrew Tate fanboys watching this would be cheering him on, be like, yeah, you show that woman. Gamba. This is why we can't trust women to do anything. I know, I get it in my comments all the time.
Now, here's another problem.
Oh, Mr. Bradshaw, I wanted to tell you that the date is set for my marriage. I'll be leaving soon.
Marriage? I thought you just got engaged.
Well, I told you about it 6 months ago. We were only waiting till we could find a place to live.
6 months ago? Oh, brother. Well, how soon are you leaving?
Well, the end of next week.
Oh, that'll really put us in a bind around here.
Well, here's a thought. Maybe if society didn't encourage married women to give up their jobs, this wouldn't be an issue. And it sounds to me like this woman gave you plenty of notice. You just forgot. So the problem's with you, idiot.
It takes time to break in a relief, girl.
Yes, I know it does. I wonder.
Why didn't you say something? I didn't realize you were getting married right away.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Bradshaw, but I really thought you knew. We've all been talking about it.
See, yeah, this is his fault. Luckily, the big big boss of the company is kind of on the women's side-ish. This is about as close to a feminist twist in a film as you got in the 1950s, I think. Oh, give this a listen.
All these things you've been talking about, marriage, absenteeism, personality problems, aren't they really just a part of life?
Part of a woman's life, maybe. But I can remember the good old days when there were all men in my department, and we didn't have these problems.
You didn't have the production output you've got now either. Look, Brad, you've got a new bearings inspector who happens to be a woman. You need someone, and there isn't a man available. It seems to me that whether the gal adds up to trouble or not is pretty much up to you.
Yeah, and then that's where the film ends. Like, I really thought there was probably going to be a bit more pushback against this guy, but I guess maybe that would be too feminist and taking things too far. Still, it's better than I was expecting, and it's kind of nice to see stuff like this, because I feel like videos like this were the small stepping stones in pushing back against misogyny, and overall, it's good to watch for a giggle, right? Like I say, these kinds of videos, they aren't groundbreaking, they aren't like, oh my god, this was revolutionary for the time, but honestly, that even that little bit of pushback, you know, that was a big step for the time, and it is something that would have helped, you know, be another stepping stone in the fight for equality, and all these little things are going to add up and build up. So it's nice to see, even if it's not perfect, and even if by today's standards we'd be like, what the hell did we just watch? If you would like another giggle, and I'm literally just included this one because it made me laugh so much. I don't really have anything to say about the content, I just watch this. It's an experience, right? This is a video from 1946 called Dynamic Posture, featuring walking, sitting, terrible narration, and I don't even know how to describe what's going on in some of these clips.
Dynamic posture deals with the postures of lying, sitting, and standing, their variation medium or low as occasion demands. Dynamic posture, especially walking on more difficult places such as slippery surfaces, safety and balance. And in sweeping or in pushing or pulling furniture. Walking is commonly done with the weight back on the heels and the body erect, with quite a jolt as the weight comes down on each foot, because of the pompous attitude often assumed by some persons, and almost unavoidably during pregnancy. With the weight tilted forward, however, and a slight crouch, the movement becomes far simpler, easier, more graceful, and less fatiguing.
Does anyone remember the Droopy cartoons with this little guy?
Hello, all you happy people. You know what? I'm the hero. You stay right here while I go and call the cops.
Because why does the narrator sound like him? It's all I could think of when I heard this. You know, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this video was just an excuse for guys to creep on some woman in her underwear, but in a socially acceptable way. Because is anyone actually learning anything about posture from this video, or is it just for people to be a bit pervy? Maybe that's the cynic in me talking. Okay, our last video we're going to watch today is called Teenage Challenge, and where the Trouble with Women video kind of showed us some nice steps towards feminism, I feel like this video actually shows us how far America has slipped backwards since this video was filmed in 1958 in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the role of religion in society. This one's kind of interesting, you know? If The Trouble with Women was a tiny step towards feminism, then Teenage Challenge is a step towards hell on earth. So in this video, a teenage boy is like, oh my god, no, I'm not gonna socialize with my friends at the lake because Jesus wouldn't want me to. Oh my god, you heathens, let me write an essay all about it. I don't know why I give all these people the same voice that I give to Kyra, but please deal with it. It's now just my go-to stupid voice. I spend too much time with my dog, don't I?
You bet you're gonna be there, ain't you?
Down Higgins Lake? Where else?
Oh, we can't make it.
You flip, man? Everybody's gonna be there.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we got other plans.
You beat me, man.
Oh, Stan, I wanted to thank you for the coverage you gave to the announcement of our essay contest.
Well, we try to do our best.
I hope you're all going to enter.
Well, I am. I think you've picked a very good theme. Teenager's greatest challenge.
I know what my greatest challenge is. That's to get a date there with Betty.
Over my dead body.
Now, just a minute, you two. I'm not wearing anybody's brand yet.
That's a strategy, Betty. Keep them wondering.
I guess that's my greatest challenge.
So, this bit here is setting up all the context, right? These three work for the school newspaper, completely separate but run by the same teacher. There is an essay contest going on at the school about the greatest challenges that teenagers face today. Apparently this girl's greatest challenge is, lol, boys want to date me, but I'm not ready for that, teehee. As opposed to teenage girls today, whose biggest challenges would be, I don't know, struggling with living in poverty, not having school meals, sexual assault, racism, transphobia, being denied healthcare, having to try and catch up on studies after COVID and lockdown. Seriously, kids today have it tough. They really do. Anyway, back in the 50s, in this video, this is apparently the biggest challenge that teenagers have to face.
Come on, Betty, let's get out of here.
Oh, Dave. Stan was asking why we don't go down to Higgins Lake on Sunday night.
Sure, come on and join the gang. It'll be a real blast.
Betty, we can't.
Why not? Well, we could miss youth fellowship just once.
Sure, it won't tarnish your halos.
Yeah, but our new youth advisor's leading the meeting. We promised we'd be there.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
I'm sorry.
Well, someday I hope you'll wise up.
Basically, their friends want them to socialise with them at a lake where the craziest thing that happens is one of them pushed a friend in the water. Ooh, how sinful. I mean, let's be honest, it would be if someone did that to me because I can't swim and, you know, murder bad. But nothing was said about murder here, and the guy who got thrown in the water is still alive. So I'm going to assume it's a harmless prank. I don't see what's so bad about that, but they act like hanging out at the lake is the worst thing a human being can do. Anyway, they're like, the biggest challenge is we have all this pressure to go to the lake, but I want to go to church. Such a challenge. Anyway, our main character is like, yeah, see, screw you, I'm not going to have friends, I'm going to go to church instead. And then at the church, they had this new youth pastor who talks about stuff.
I know when you're out with other kids, it's kind of hard sometimes to even admit you're Christian. And even more difficult to live up to what you believe.
You can say that again.
Well, it seems to me if we're Christians, we shouldn't be ashamed to show it.
It's not a question of being ashamed, but a person doesn't have to go around talking about it all the time. I agree. I think we've got to be reasonable about it.
What do you mean by reasonable, Betty?
Well, I mean, if we go around talking about it too much, you know what most of the kids say. It just causes trouble. Sometimes we take a beating by just coming to church.
That's for sure.
That raises a good question. Is it possible to be a Christian and still be popular?
Honestly, I do think these are good conversations to have. You know, people should be able to speak about their own religious beliefs without persecution or bullying. That is absolutely true, and I stand by that 100%. But also, people shouldn't be pushing their beliefs onto other people or shaming other people for not being as religious as them or for being a different religion to them, and they absolutely shouldn't be trying to convert anyone to their religion. That is unacceptable. I think there's some good points made in this scene, but honestly my biggest issue that I have with it is that it gives me the same vibes as, for example, a Girl Defined video, a Paula Morgan video, a Hannah Williamson video, where they always claim to be like, we are the real victims in this. We are being persecuted. All we ever did was say some homophobic and transphobic stuff. It's not a big deal. All we ever wanted to do was take away basic human rights for people in the name of God. And in response, we got people unsubscribing to us, calling us hateful. We're the oppressed ones. We are the victims. Boo-hoo-hoo. Again, I don't know what that voice was, and I can only apologise, but that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this video. I feel like these kids would do that too. There's a lot of people who are victims of bullying, harassment, prejudice, oppression. Being told you're hateful for being prejudiced is not making you a victim, you know? It's just a consequence of your actions.
Naturally, some of the kids are going to think we're way out of orbit. But maybe it's just the other way around. Maybe it's the other kids that are squares sometimes. I think it's a question of whom do we want to please first? The rest of the gang or God?
I think each of us would like to do God's will. The only thing is, sometimes it's pretty difficult to know just what it is God wants us to do. Frankly, I sure don't know what God's answer is.
Teenagers have always been vital in God's plans. Look back through history at the way God has used teenagers to further his kingdom. And it's just as true today. What you do now in his name can help determine the future of the world. Believe me, there's no more thrilling adventure in life than seeking out God's will and in living every moment for Christ.
Yay for indoctrination! Yay! God's sake.
Dave, please don't misunderstand me. I think Mr. Rhodes said some wonderful things tonight.
Yes, but everything he said isn't worth a hoot unless we do something about it. We've been going to church and youth fellowship all this time thinking we were pretty good. But actually, I mean, in our everyday lives, it gives us any reason to call ourselves Christians. All of a sudden, it's so clear. Either a person lives for Christ or he doesn't.
But I still say you don't have to act like a missionary or something.
I am not going to go around preaching at the guys. But I feel kind of chicken. You know, I've gone along, taken all their guff, tried to laugh it off. What's to laugh off? This is serious business.
I agree. But you try and talk to them like that, and you'd be the laughing stock of the school.
No kidding. When you and Betty gonna get out of this church rut and live like the rest of the human beings?
Well, perhaps you should take a look on our side of the tracks, too. See how we live.
Well, from what I've seen, Laughing Boy, it seems to me like it's against the law to have any fun.
That's where you're way off base, Ziggy.
Well, what do you do for fun? Stick your feet in cement?
It depends upon what you consider fun. All right, you clowns. Listen, you've only got one life. Did you ever stop to figure what that means?
You made a perfect fool of yourself with Ziggy and Stan.
Why? I didn't do anything I'm ashamed of.
Oh, Dave, honestly.
Look, like I said last night, either I'm for Christ or I'm not. And if Ziggy and Stan or anybody else for that matter wants to make perfect fools of themselves, then...
But you've got to go at it gradually. Dave, I just don't think that we should hit people over the head. And if you're going to make like a missionary, please don't expect me to go along with you.
Yeah, honestly, I'm with the girl on this. Again, please stop trying to go around converting everyone. It's unnecessary.
By the way, I've been reading in here about the essay contest. You're going to enter it, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Have you picked your subject yet?
Well, not exactly. There's so many things that come under the heading of a teenager's challenge.
Won't be easy to pick the greatest. After all, your generation is going to have a lot of challenges.
And if your generation doesn't solve some of these problems, Dave, I'm not sure that I'd like to be in your shoes.
You kids are really facing a colossal challenge.
You know, I would actually be interested to know what these colossal challenges are. The parents are like, oh, there's so many colossal challenges, but then never name them, label them, say what they might be. But you know, I guess if the creators of this video actually bothered to list actual problems that kids faced back then it would kind of undermine the whole boo-hoo Jesus aspect of it. So I can see why they left it out to push their agenda. So our main character starts writing his essay about how tough it is to be a teenager and a Christian, and then the girl, Betty, and their other friend, whose name I never got, they come along and they read the first paragraph and they say this.
you're not going to enter this.
Why not? Can you think of any greater challenge facing a teenager?
Oh, Dave, it would be great for a church contest. But you try and enter this here, and your greatest challenge is going to be to try and live it down.
What's the hassle, kids? A teenager's greatest challenge. Finding God's will for my life. Wow, you are biting off a mouthful, Dave.
Maybe.
It's very commendable, pal. But you better get ready for a few laughs.
But it is our greatest challenge. If we lived our lives according to God's will for us, wouldn't it solve most of the major problems?
Like, no, I have to disagree here. It wouldn't solve all of life's major problems, you know? In fact, it would cause a lot more problems, as we see evidenced by so many fundies and their lifestyles today. If everyone lived their lives according to God's will for us and blah blah blah, like, you would have more marital rape, more forced pregnancies, more homophobia, more transphobia, more domestic violence, less freedom for women, less education for kids. Maybe some good would come of it in some instances. Like, for example, people would eat less shellfish, which is great for people like me who are allergic to it, but overall it would cause far more problems than it fixed. Let's be completely honest here. So the kid enters his essay into the contest anyway, and he gets called into the office of the teacher who is running the contest, and this, I swear, is the only sensible adult in this whole short film, and she is made out to be the villain.
You want to see me, Mrs. Goodwin?
Oh, yes, Dave. Come in. Sit down. Dave, as chairman of the essay committee, I have some good news for you. Your entry was one of the best.
Really? Yeah, that's swell.
The only thing is, your choice of subject has put the committee in a rather awkward position.
What do you mean?
Well, it's always been traditional in our public school system to keep the school and the church separate. Now, the committee has to take this into consideration. Therefore, because of your essay's content, the majority of the committee feels that we shouldn't invite possible repercussions by having it presented in General Assembly. The committee would like for you to write another essay on a less controversial subject, and they'll accept it instead of this one.
I thought I'd get a rise out of some of the kids, but I never dreamed I'd have it kicked back at me from the faculty.
But it would open the door to criticism. Some feel that, in effect, it would be making a church out of our school assembly. I hope you understand.
See? If they could manage to understand this in 1958, why can't they manage it today? She is absolutely right, and this is exactly how things should be. Now, I do think this is an oversimplification, and things are more complicated than they're being portrayed here. You know, so the film is actually trying to make her and the school board the villains and all this, but I absolutely disagree, like I say. That said, there is more nuance to the situation. Keeping school and church separate shouldn't be about blindly banning any expression of religion from their staff or pupils or anything, but it should be about not allowing anyone to force a religious agenda onto anyone else, you know? I feel like if a kid had written an essay about the history of one or more religions, there'd be no issue with that, right? If a kid felt the need to take time out of their day to go and pray, or they wanted to wear a head covering, or they wanted to wear like a religious symbol like a cross necklace or something like that, I think that would be okay and fine, right? That's about personal expression. Nothing wrong with that. If a kid had maybe written a personal essay purely about their own experience with religion, again, that would be fine, right? That's about self-expression. But the problems arise when, for example, a student or pupil assumes that everyone should be the same religion as them, as this kid did in his essay. The problems arise when kids like this write essays like this and go around trying to convert everyone to their religion. There are so many jokes in this short film about this kid being a missionary and how that's his goal and how he wants to like convert everyone and bring them to Christ and blah blah blah, and I don't think that's okay. And I also think problems arise and there are issues when staff and students are forced to take part in religious practices. This doesn't happen in this film, but you do see it in America today, and other countries to be fair, where you have kids having to pray in class, or they have certain parts of their curriculum unfairly scrapped because of someone's religion, or books are banned because of someone's religion. That is all unfair in my opinion. You can't force other people to do something because of your religious beliefs. That's not okay. So overall, the situation is far more complex than the film makes out. But honestly, if we're going to simplify things a lot, and it comes down to what this teacher says about separating school and religion, I agree with her. I really do. I don't think she should be the antagonist like this film makes out. Anyway, this teacher and the school board offer this kid a chance to write another essay for the contest that he can read out in school assembly, but he refuses. Instead, he gives the finished essay to Betty to read. And here's an excerpt from it.
It's just a matter of putting first things first. If God is in charge of the universe, then doesn't it logically follow that we are responsible to him? And therefore, isn't it up to us to seek his will for our lives? To find out why we are really here on this earth? To discover how God wants us to use our talents, our abilities, and our energies? With all of the challenges facing us, isn't this the first and the greatest? To find ourselves and our destinies in God's plan.
This is your prize-winning essay. Kids back then had it easy, didn't they? Or maybe it's just fictional kids. Fictional kids have it so easy. You know when there's like a scene in like a film or TV program or whatever and someone has to like write an essay or do like a uni entrance exam, or there's like exams for finals or something. Like, is it just me, or are the questions super, super easy, or the essays just super, super basic? I'm like, we had to do so much more in school to like just scrape by than what fictional characters have to do on TV. It makes me very jealous. Sometimes I wish I could go back and be a fictional teenager.
Well, I read your paper the other afternoon, and honest, I thought it was great. I even took it home and showed it to my parents, and they agreed that it was
Wait a minute, hold it. Just a second.
I brought it back to you the next morning to give it to you, but you didn't show up, and I had it there on my desk, and Stan came in, and he wanted to read it, so I let him.
And I thought it was the best piece of copy you've ever written.
I must be dreaming.
No, you're awake, pal. And thanks to you, I'm opening my eyes, too. Your ideas made quite a dent.
Dave, while Stan and I were talking about your essay, Ziggy came in.
And he wanted to read it, so we let him. But we didn't let him take it. He lifted it when we weren't looking. I've looked for it. Ziggy claims he don't know who has it now. It's making the rounds.
I'm terribly sorry, Dave.
It's a lousy thing for Ziggy to pull, and I told him so.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not so sure it is a lousy thing. I wrote these for people to read, and thanks to Ziggy, that's exactly what they're doing.
Hey, I hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Poor Ziggy. He's actually being a mission poet.
I'd like to see Ziggy's face when you tell him that.
Me too.
Well, wait a minute. There's no rush. Let's not spoil the good work. I'm not sure what God's will is for me yet, but I've got a lot to learn.
We all have. But thanks to you, Dave, we're making a start.
I wonder what would happen if we ran your essay next week as an editorial.
I dare you.
You know something? Maybe that's my greatest challenge.
Oh, come on. This is the stupidest ending ever. If they're not going to let him read the essay in an assembly, they're not going to let you guys publish it in a school newspaper. God's sake, come on, be realistic. But ultimately, the moral of this story is, everyone should have religion forced down their throats. Yay! All you religious teenagers, go out there and try to convert your fellow classmates. Yay! Being religious and trying to force it on everyone else does make you cool, because it's what God wants. Yay! I hate this. It's a terrible message, right? And that's where the video ends, and that is where I'm going to end this little video today. Overall, I have mixed thoughts about these kinds of videos. On the one hand, I think it's really interesting to see how these bits of media had small but powerful impacts on our culture as we know it today, both good and bad. But overall, I just think they're quite fun to have a look back at and have a bit of a giggle at and have some fun with, and kind of just see how much things have changed and how some things have got better and some things have got worse and so on, you know? In some ways, I kind of wish things like this were still made, because, like, as an autistic woman, who didn't know I was autistic until my late 20s, I can see how some of these videos would have actually been helpful to me. There's some that I've seen that are like ways to better conversation. That might have been super useful for me growing up if someone had actually given me a resource like that. That said, you do know if this stuff was made today, especially in this format, kids would just laugh at them. But that doesn't mean that kids today aren't actually learning and being socialized from video content. I'd say kids are still learning stuff like this from video, but it comes in the form of, for example, YouTube videos, influencer videos, TikTok, Instagram Reels, that sort of stuff. Where a kid in the 1950s might have learned what to do on a date or how to treat women from an instructional video like these, today kids watch how their favourite vloggers treat women. They watch people tell stories on TikToks of good and bad dates. They watch people like Andrew Tate describe how to treat women and what to do and blah blah blah. And they pick up what they know through these people, through watching what they do. And the problem is that when these messages are being taught by dangerous people, the lessons are dangerous and they teach kids the wrong things, you know? So, as an example, a couple of years ago, I reviewed Jake Paul's absolute mess of a book. It's like a autobiography, which is mostly just him bragging about treating girl after girl after girl badly. It's like, and then there was this girl and she was really hard, and then I screwed her over like this, and then there was this girl and she was really hard, and then I screwed her over like this. And it's easy for us as adults to read a book like that and sit there and laugh at what a disgusting man-child he is and be like, ha ha ha, isn't Jake Paul awful? But it's scary to think that he's doing that in his books, he's doing that in his videos, he's normalizing that kind of behaviour, and his young child fan base are going to be reading and watching and consuming that kind of content and seeing the way he treats women and thinking that that's normal, that's aspirational, that's what they should be doing too. So, I think in a lot of ways kids are still learning in the same ways, there's just less regulation about what they're learning and who they're learning it from. And that's a little scary, isn't it? It's definitely a complicated topic though, one which is worth thinking about a lot more. So if you'd like me to watch any more of these sorts of videos, just let me know. I have one more of these that I'm going to film today and it's going to be released sometime next week. I need a holiday so badly. I booked a cheap last minute deal because I'm just exhausted and edging towards burnout, so that's going to be lovely. But yeah, if you want me to watch any of these videos in particular and respond to them and that sort of thing, please let me know down in the comments. Just please don't ask me to watch fetal pig anatomy, because I will do a lot for you guys, but I will not do that. Once again, thank you to Bellessa for sponsoring this video. They are a wonderful company, and please go sign up for their giveaway, get yourself something exciting. Like I say, you can get free vibrators, you can get gift cards, everyone gets something, and they're absolutely worth it. They are wonderful, they're great, and yeah, that's where I'm going to end today's video. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you for giving me your time, your attention, all of it, and I will see you guys again very, very soon.